Hello again, and welcome to today's video. I know the last few videos here in group, we have talked more specifically about review request emails and working with influencers. We've really expanded on what's in the course materials already. I wanted to continue that train of thought a little bit here today with talking specifically about Instagram direct messages. I have pulled together three actually real examples from real messages I've received. And of course, I've removed all the more personal info, but I wanted to give you an inside look at how a blogger reacts to these examples of direct messages from authors and how we can examine them a little bit. Let's take a second, study them, see what we can learn from them, what to do, what not to do, what doesn't work, and what works. Really, what I want to focus on is how to say a lot with a little and encourage further contact. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this first example and read it together. Hello, I'm a writer. I've written some stories and put them on Amazon, but unfortunately, I don't have many tools to introduce my work and prove myself as an author. Would you mind using a photo of one of my books this week on your Instagram page? That could be a big help for me, especially if you use the URL of my book's Amazon page, if you don't mind. Sorry for asking this. Here's the link to my book. Let's ask ourselves, what's wrong with this request? First things first, it leads strongly with the sender's needs instead of the recipient's. This is something we've mentioned in some recent videos here in group, and it's an incredibly important lesson that can be tricky to translate, and I really wanted to go into this example to better illustrate that for you guys. You're asking a favor from someone who doesn't know you and doesn't owe you anything. So you've really got to pitch it, which you know from our previous videos. And this is an example of what not to do. Let's take a look at some of these areas I've highlighted and just the fact that there are so many I's and my's in this message with very few you's. For example, I've written some stories. I don't have many tools. Using a photo of one of my books, that could be a big help for me. That's a phrase I want to pay a lot of attention to. That could be a big help for me. Well, when someone like me, a blogger or media, is reading a message like this, they don't really, frankly, they don't care if it's a big help for you. They don't know you. They don't know if your book's any good. They don't owe you anything. So we have to approach this in a really different way than your needs. Of course, when you're sending an email, you are thinking about your needs, and that's good. This is a business, but you want to present yourself in a more professional sense and in a more confident sense. To me, this is a very insecure message, especially when it apologizes, which leads me to my next point. It approaches this request like it's a problem instead of a solution. I've mentioned before that when you're working with bloggers and media, it's a collaborative effort. You've created content, they are a content creator, and they need content for their own means. So really it is a collaborative effort. You just need to convince them that you can work together and that you would be a benefit to one another. And by doing that, you present it as a solution to their needs and not a problem for them, not something that they feel obligated to do, but something that they are excited about and want to do. So let's take a look at some of the blue highlights on the left here. This phrase says, I don't have many tools to introduce my work and prove myself as an author. That's a problem, and it is the author's problem, but it has very little to do with the blogger. In fact, it has nothing at all to do with a blogger or the media. That's not their problem, and therefore it's irrelevant in this message and more detrimental than helpful to convince this person to say yes and to want to work with you. Another thing I noticed about this is that it says, sorry for asking this. I know that it can be really hard to ask for your needs. That's actually a question I get a lot on some of my free trainings, is the balance between selling and being a person. And that's a tricky balance for anyone. But one rule that I can guaranteed give you is never to apologize for asking for your needs. Never to apologize for presenting someone with an opportunity, because that's really what you are doing. You're asking a favor. You're also offering an opportunity. Now, it's an opportunity that they can easily turn down when they don't necessarily need, but one you can make them want. And that's the goal here. Those are two of the three main problems I see with this message. First, it leads with the sender's needs. Second, it approaches the request like a problem instead of a solution. My last sticking point about this particular message is that it lacks information about the book itself. There is no title, there is no genre, there's no type of publication. They haven't told me if they're self-published, though I can probably assume. They haven't told me any length. They've really given me no information about what the offer actually is. This message is really just saying, I have a problem. Dear stranger, can you help me? And the reality is, most strangers are going to say, no, I can't, or they'll simply ignore this message. So let's talk about what to do instead. First is approach with confidence. As I said, never apologize, especially when you have tools like this and the course and the Facebook page where you can always ask questions. My goal is for you to be able to send messages like this with confidence and with powerful, clear statements that show what you want, when you want it, and do it in a really approachable, friendly way that builds genuine connection. Next is focus on the offer. Focus on what they are getting, not what you're getting, what they are getting. And of course, that leads to one of my biggest points with any review request, message, DM, whatever it is you always want to pitch with leading with their needs and not yours. So what I've done is gone ahead and rewritten this message. I took what they gave and I asked myself, how can I make this better? And I wanted to share the result of that with you. So let's read it together. Hello, I'm the author of a new true crime novel called Title, releasing in March. I would be glad to send you a paperback review copy for your TBR. If you enjoy it and would like to share it with your audience, a post to your Instagram during release month would be fantastic. I've included the link to Title on Amazon for more details. I can send a copy to your preferred address right away. Thanks for considering, and then including a link at the base of the message. So let's talk about why this works and why it is so much better than the original. First of all, it leads with clarity and confidence. This first sentence, I'm the author of a new true crime novel called Title, releasing in March. It's very declarative. It's very confident. It doesn't talk about any of the problems you might be facing within that realm. It simply states the optimistic side of that. It states the purposeful side of your situation. And that leads in to the next reason why this message works. It showcases what, when, and how. What? A true crime novel. It gives the title, it shares when in March, and it shows how. It's giving a clear direction on what they are looking for. A post to your Instagram during release month. It's very, very clear. Another thing I want you to notice about this updated message is that almost every I statement leads to a you. This is something you can really keep in mind and pay attention as you draft review request templates or even just simple DMs like this one. Ask yourself where the sentence is leading. If you are starting with I, make sure it leads to a you. For example, I would be glad to send you a paperback review copy for your TBR. And then at the bottom with the last your highlight, it says, I can send a copy to your preferred address. That is leading with a gift. It's leading with an offer. And that's something you want to make sure you have at least a few of in your review requests. Make sure they know that this is about them. It's about what they are getting. And frankly, just looking at your sentence structure can help you achieve that. It's short and it's sweet, but you also have more details available, which is perfect for the shorter formats of the direct messages directly on Instagram. And if they are interested and curious, the link is right there. They don't have to think too hard. They can check the link, close back out, and come right back to your message and say yay or nay, and hopefully it's a yay. Here are the two messages right next to one another if you want to take a pause and read them, if that helps you. But otherwise, we are going to go ahead and move on to the next example, which is extremely short and, in my opinion, a very bad direct message. Let's read it together. Hi, name. I wonder if you would be interested in a review copy of an exciting new novel, Title, which publishes September 4th. Very best, X. Let's talk about what's wrong with this request. First, it leaves the recipient with more questions than answers. Questions they likely are not going to bother to pursue. Remember, the people you're sending these messages to do not know you. They do not owe you anything. And if you can't convince them or spark some sort of curiosity or interest in your message, then you've already lost them. This message leaves too much opportunity for a no instead of a yes. You're just making it too easy for them to walk away from this note because there's nothing exciting about it. There's not enough detail. You're not giving them any real answers. All you're doing is being purely transactional. That's a mistake, especially when we're using social media to do what? Be social, right? In a message like this, you're leaving no room for personality or room for connection. You're not being friendly. You're not working towards gaining a relationship, which is something I always suggest when you work and you land these collaborations with media or bloggers, whoever, that you work very hard to build some sort of friendly relationship so that down the road, when another book of yours comes out, you already have people to work with because you already did the hard work the first time. And a review request like this, there's nothing here. There's nothing to build upon. There's nothing for them to connect with or to. And the same goes for you. You're not inviting that in, and it's not a very welcoming message. The reason social media works so well and the reason modern advertising works in such a different way is because of the social connection. So to sort of cut that out makes you seem like a megaphone or a billboard where you're just sort of shouting your message. And that can be a really big turnoff for a lot of users today, especially when you're working with bloggers whose entire audience base and entire career is based on social connections. These are things to think about when you're writing these request emails and how it can impact you down the road and how you want to make sure that you're really putting your best foot forward when you reach out. Now, I said this message leaves too many questions. It gives you more questions than answers. So here are some of the questions I had when I saw this message. First, what is the book about? I have no idea. All it says is exciting new novel and a title. That doesn't really tell me anything. It might be something I'm really interested in. It might be something I'm not interested in at all. But if I'm really busy checking a lot of messages, going through a lot of comments, I'm not going to take the time to figure it out. I'm not going to take the time to look it up on Goodreads. You haven't even provided a link here, and you're just making it more difficult than it should be. You're also not saying what the offer is. You're saying a review copy, sure, but a review copy when? A review copy on PDF form, paperback? There's no distinction there, and sometimes that can make a big difference for bloggers and reviewers. You're also not saying what action you want the recipient to take. Do you want them to message you back? Do you want them to send their address? Do you want them to just ignore your message? Of course not, but that's sort of what it seems like from how clipped this message is. And lastly, regarding the no personality aspect, who is this person? We don't know, right? They haven't said anything about themselves or about how they found me or the media account or whoever. You don't have to say very much to make that connection, but you do have to say something. So I actually rewrote this in two different options. The first option because I wanted you to think about this in perhaps a different way, and then we'll jump back into a more expanded example. Option one is a lead to email. I wanted to sort of break and talk about this briefly because I think it works very well. Because you're sort of covering all your bases, and this has happened to me a lot of times where I sort of pay more attention. Now, let's read this together. This is a rewritten version. I hope you'll be interested in receiving a gifted copy of my newest historical fiction called Title. It's a story about heartbreak, perseverance, and the bonds of family. I've sent you an email with all the details. Hope to chat with you about a collaboration there soon. And then a link to the book. Now, this is a really short, clipped message. It doesn't say too much about how they know you or too much about the collaboration itself, what or when or any of that. But what it does do is keep the direct message really, really short if this is a format you're uncomfortable with. And it leads them back to email, which you, if you're sending this, should have already sent. That email should be waiting for them. Within that email, you can go into all the details. You can use the template and the course materials. You can really deep dive into your book, the accolades, all the great stuff that you can include in a longer format. And this does work because what it does is essentially send two messages without being overbearing. You've sent one email, and emails get crowded. You and I know this more than anyone. And it's just easy for things to get lost, especially when the name is unfamiliar. And especially when these media outlets or bloggers, whoever you're working with, get tons of different emails from different people, it's just easier for it to get lost. When you send just a quick message like this, you're enticing them a little bit with what the subject is about. You're getting them interested in the concept of the book, and you're just saying all the details are in the email. I hope to chat with you there soon. So you're also directing them to a different conversation link. It's sort of just a notification to lead them to a deeper message. And this does work very well. This is probably how about half of my collaborations get done. But let's go ahead and dive back into a different option that would be able to work within short and sweet direct messages by itself. So this is option 2, and let's go ahead and read it together. Hi, Name. I hope you'll be interested in receiving a gifted copy of my newest historical fiction called Title. It's a story about heartbreak, perseverance, and the bonds of family. I saw you enjoyed Title A and thought this story would be a great fit for your TBR. I can have a copy on your doorstep by next week. Let me know your preferred address and I'll have it in the mail for you ASAP. Here are the details: title, page length, genre, publisher, and a link to the book. Let's talk about why this option works. It's still short and sweet, but it says a lot more. First, it describes the book. It says what it's about. It says its genre. Of course, it gives its title. It also describes the offer. I can have a copy on your doorstep by next week. It also adds a personal touch by saying, I saw you enjoyed Title A and thought this story would be a great fit for your TBR. Of course, Title A is sort of just a placeholder for any other historical fiction that you might have seen on their feed. This shows that you did just the littlest bit of research. You spent the littlest amount of time to pay a little extra attention. You added that personal touch. They know that they're being seen. They feel that this offer is probably more legitimate. It's coming from a real person who has a real vested interest in the work they do. And lastly, it gives a great call to action. It says, let me know your preferred address and I'll have it in the mail for you ASAP. That line right there at the end makes this decision extremely easy for them. If they feel like they loved Title A, whatever that book was, if they like stories about heartbreak, perseverance, and family, then this is already an easy yes for them. They're thinking, yeah, this sounds great. Clearly, this person knows me. If they know I've read Title A, they must have looked at my feed. They must have looked at my work. And all they have to do is send a few lines of text with their address, and that's it. They know that you're going to have it in the mail for them. You've made it as easy as you can. You've also done a technique, which is just sort of a bullet technique, just outlining the quick details about the book itself, like the title, the page length, the genre, the publisher, if you think it's applicable, and then a link to the book if they want more. It's a lot of different elements working in your favor, and it's an extremely short paragraph, requires very little work on your part. So those are 2 rewritten examples that we've gone over together. And I want to close with a message that I've gotten that works, an author who is on Instagram working hard and doing it right. So let's go ahead and go into that example now. All I've done in this message is just kind of shortened it and taken out the personal information. So let's go ahead and read that now. Hi, Name. I am such a fan of yours. I am always referencing your profile when I talk about books on Instagram. I wanted to see if you'd be interested in partnering with me in July, any date, to host an international giveaway of one of my young adult fantasy books. I'm happy to ship a copy to you as a way of saying thanks. I personally think the cover of my newest book would work great with your aesthetic, but I'm happy to let you choose whichever one of my books you're most drawn to. Just send me your book pic with a mailing address and I can have it sent straight away. Thanks for considering. I look forward to hearing from you. Website link. Let's talk about the elements of this message that work. First of all, it personalizes and complements. She starts the message by saying, I'm such a fan of yours. I'm always referencing your profile when I talk about books on Instagram. It's clear that she knows who this individual is. It's clear she's done her research on the blogger, right? And the blogger will be able to tell that there's a genuine interest, that there is a possibility for a genuine collaboration, and that a collaboration can be with this person, truly collaborative. She also, in the middle of the note, says, I personally think the cover of my newest book would work great with your aesthetic, but I'm happy to let you choose. That goes to show that she has looked at the aesthetic, that she's paying attention to something bloggers pay attention to. She's saying, I know what you need. I know what your content needs. I can help you fulfill a space in your content. You've got an empty space. I've got something to fill it. She is relating her need to the content creator's need, and it's extremely genius. That personalization goes an extremely long way. Next, she clearly outlines the request. She says what and when. She wants to do an international giveaway in July, but she also includes some really friendly flexibility, another great idea. You'll see here in highlighted it says in July, but in parentheses, any date. That flexibility can really help you get conversions. If you are too specific with your date, maybe that person's really overwhelmed then, maybe their calendar's already full, and then they're saying no just because they think, oh, I'm really busy and they want it this week specifically or this day specifically, and you're not leaving much room for them. This is especially something to keep in mind if you're going for a bigger fish, like a bigger media outlet or a bigger blogger. Definitely don't be afraid to state your need, to state, like if your book's coming out in July, then certainly you want the press coverage to be in July. But allow them to choose a little bit. Give them some control. Make it friendly. Another way she does that is she suggests her newest book, but she says, I'm happy to let you choose whichever one of my books you're most drawn to. She's doing her best to have a long-term connection here, and it's very, very smart. It works for a few reasons. Obviously, they feel like they have more control, but she's also introducing an element of fun. She's letting them shop. She's not saying this is strictly what you have to choose and parameters for this offer. She's saying, here's what I'd like you to choose. Here's what I'd like to work with you on. But she's smart enough to know that she has other books down the line that could also use the exposure. In all likelihood, a blogger would simply say yes to the newest book because it's easiest and because she's already outlined it all. But just the fact that she's included that ability for them to choose opens up some friendly flexibility that goes a long way. Overall, this author focuses on what's being given and not taken. That's very clear from everything we've highlighted. She's saying, I'll ship a copy to you, your aesthetic, you choose, send me your book pick, and just making it as easy as possible to say yes. Another way she is making this convert is she's given a really simple call to action. Just send me your book pick with the mailing address and I can have it sent straight away. So a media person is going to read this message. They're going to feel flattered, complimented. They can tell it's personalized. It feels like a legitimate request. They know what's expected of their collaboration. They feel like they're being given something, and there's this simple call to action at the very end that just makes it easy. All they need to do is type 3 lines of text, and that's it. They've just sent their address, and they know it's going to be taken care of. It's something they can look forward to. Keep in mind that this message is extremely short. This is not a full email. It's not a full review request template, yet it works. You can say a lot with a little, and with messages like this one, you're encouraging further contact, you're encouraging connection, which is only going to help you down the road as more books come out. And as you need to recirculate perhaps old works, if you do like a yearly publication celebration, this is an easy way to just reach out and say, hey, I'm working on something for this, or get them excited about it. Build that connection because you never know when it's going to come in handy for you later. To close this video out, I just want to end with the general rule that the more connection you build, the more you can ask for. Let's go back to that first message that we looked at, the one that was really self-serving and really problem-focused rather than solution-focused. This doesn't encourage a friendship. It doesn't encourage a collaboration. It's not doing anything to excite the content creator or the media. It's too inward focused. Let's take a look at the second message. This incredibly short, clipped message with zero personalization and very little information about the book itself. This also doesn't garner any connection. It doesn't garner any personalization. There's nothing here. It's too transactional. When you have these messages that are not fulfilling their full purpose of getting collaborations, of getting your book featured from huge audiences, you're missing out on an opportunity. This message, in my opinion, should not have been sent at all. It's better to add a few more lines of text, as we saw, that gives way more information. It says a lot with a little, and it encourages further contact. I hope going through these messages has helped you understand some of the elements in these shorter messages that can go a long, long way into getting a yes. It's sometimes easier and faster than sending a full-on email and works directly within the Instagram app itself. Feel free to go back through this video, pause where you need to pause, take a look at the text, break it down, see how you can convert these messages for your own book. And I hope that that helps you the next time you are working through your collaboration requests. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.